I'm Catherine Sheeran, host of the podcast Horse Tales with Cat. Today I'm meeting with Doran and Lisa Stahl, owners of Animal Dynamics, Basic Wellness, and Microleaf for both people and horses. They are also both equine sports massage therapists and licensed human massage therapists. Welcome, Lisa and Don.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I'm going to start with you, Lisa. I'd like to just ask you a little bit about how you came to horses in general, and then we'll dive into more specifically how you came to do what you're doing now.
Okay. Well, I was born that way. And I truly believe that horse people are born with it. You're born with an affinity for horses or not. And it's a matter of whether you're able to actualize that. And so as a young person, as a child, the want was always there, the desire was always there, and it wasn't until I was a professional a professional in information management that I had the resources to get my first horse.
Ah.
So I'm an amateur owner.
And what kind of riding were you doing at that point?
We paid good money for bad advice, and they called it dressage.
Ah, okay. And Don, how about you? How did you first come into the horse industry?
My family was involved in the business aspect at the racetrack, and at an early age I was exposed to the horses. And when I turned 16, on my 16th birthday, I was able to begin working at the racetrack, at Belmont Racetrack, and that's where my first real experience with horses began, when I was 16 at Belmont in the thoroughbred industry, working in a stable for a number of years. I worked there, and then I went to the Marine Corps for 3 years, and when I was out of the Marine Corps, I went back to the racetrack, and then another till 1980, 79, 80, and then I began to manage a thoroughbred farm. We had a 2,000-acre farm. We had about 5 studs. We had about 150 horses, foaling out about 50 babies a year, and a lot of layups, or thoroughbred layups from the racetrack for 10 years. So that was really a base of my horsemanship, is both raising, breeding, and racing aspects on there, and recovery injuries on a lot of these horses. So that really is my base. And then a number of years after that, just working directly with horses and applying some of the aspects that I had learned and continue to learn about horses, because anybody involved with horses, you're learning every day you're exposed to a horse.
Very true. So now you're both licensed human massage therapists. Can you tell me a little bit about that journey, Lisa, first?
Okay, and I'll defer a little bit to Don on this, in that he was my mentor in helping me understand the path of human massage, and not putting words in Don's mouth, but what he said in his journey to bring wellness to horses with their physical issues. He did self-study and education, and he felt that he needed to go to human massage school to look at human equine running injuries, to broaden his understanding of the muscular system. And so I was a person who had a broken horse, and someone told me to, I've been to Don Doran's equine sports massage program, and I can help your horse. Now, at that point in my life, I thought that any type of complementary therapy was just something that you did when you had extra money to spend and didn't know what to do with it, and it was really a waste of time. However, my horse was broken, and I knew this person to be a good horse person, and I said, come on and show me. And she did. And I was amazed and humbled at what she did with my horse and the problems that my horse had that I didn't know he had. And that's when I said, I have to go to Don's school. And then I realized it's like, okay, there's a whole nother world out there that encompasses the horses and the people. And there you go.
And Dawn, how did you come to do human massage therapy first?
Early on, when I was first on the racetrack at 16, I was green. Green is the grass with horses. And I was lucky enough in the operation that I wound up working with and became part of the family was a lot of the older black grooms who were expert horsemen with thoroughbred horses. And they took me under their wing. And I began to learn from these individuals and spend a lot of time on the backstretch with these individuals, and really learned about how much time they would spend, what they say, rubbing horses, how important it was a rubbing of a horse. When I went into the Marine Corps, I was quite fit at the time, and how fitness can you get, and I was overseas for a year and studying boxing and also martial arts and fitness, and I was quite sore. I was only 16, 19, and by that time and stuff, I went out in town and I got a massage. It cost $10, shiatsu and massage, and it had an amazing result upon me, how great this felt. And what went on in my mind then was, this is exactly what we're doing when we're rubbing the horses, rubbing the muscles, massage. At that time, I went out the following week in Okinawa, and in town I bought a book, the domestic animals muscular book. And with that, I began to study horse equine muscles, and then started to study about massage, and then started utilizing some of the little bit I knew. When I got out of the Marine Corps, went back onto the racetrack, started using some of these applications on horses, and I had excellent results from them. And with that and stuff, more so, and then when I was managing my farm, I had a number of horses, one particularly that was sent to Cornell University, and they said, there's nothing we can do with this horse's neck. You can give them to us, support them to, and we will do injury surgery on him, and it'll help other horses. I said, no, send them back. And I began to apply some of the massage techniques to this horse, and he broke his first race in Saratoga as a 2-year-old a year and a half later. We had a complete result from him. And at that time, other horses that were involved with layups, applying these principles, the little bit that I knew, that had really excellent results. When 1989, when I left the farm, I decided to do this full time, and I decided I needed to bring it further, so I went to school to become a massage therapist and specialize in sports massage and bring the work over to horses. And that was in 1990. So that was really where I began working. I'd worked prior to that with horses, began working full time with horses, with applying some of these sports massage techniques that we would use with humans and bring it over to the horses. And in 1993, I had been, some of the vets I had worked with through the different racetracks around the country had asked me to put a program together. And we put a program together in 1993, our equine sports massage program, and that's the program that's on now almost 30 years, over 31 years and stuff, that we've started with this program, teaching individuals, horse people, professional horse people, veterinarians, how to apply these equine sports techniques to their horses to assist with their horses' performance. That's how my whole study started and continues all the time, as it always does with horses.
Wow, that's amazing. Now, so let me sort of connect the dots there. I know that you've also worked with human athletes. So how do the principles that you use with humans apply to horses and vice versa?
I don't really see much difference, muscle or muscle. Now, absolutely there is a differentiation in physiology of the body, the muscles, size, horses, but the techniques are the same techniques we would use with humans applied to the horses in the same way. What we would look for, the same aspect with dealing with humans, to number one, observe what the problem might be, address it, to assist getting the individual out of, if they're in pain on there, and to address the root cause of the problem rather than the symptom of the problem, and then to allow better performance from the individual, whether it's be humans or horses. And that goes from individuals that work for our Olympics, that have been in Olympic trials working with horses and got them to the Olympics.
With people. Yeah.
And also with higher levels of horses in one Breeders' Cup sprints with a horse in particularly, we're applying these same principles. So there really isn't a differentiation other than the size of the individual, and some techniques are a little bit different, but they're basically the same you would with any animal on there. And our particular aspect is humans and equine.
I can add to that.
Please do.
The concept is healthy muscle tissue doesn't hurt. That's the first thing we teach our students when they walk in the door. So if I'm touching an individual and I have a pain reaction, something's going on. Now, the other thing that goes with that is that athletes hurt all the time. But the goal is to manage their fitness so that they are comfortable, like if they want to plateau and stay at a certain level and be comfortable in that, and you need to plateau. And then if you want to step up, you're going to work harder and you're going to have a little more muscular issue. And when that is addressed and released, you can push on. So healthy muscle tissue doesn't hurt. And the deal is, the other thing in understanding the anatomy, the magic of that is that where the pain is not necessarily the root cause. This is where you have to understand your origins and insertions of your muscles and how muscles overlap and work together, as well as the opposing muscle groups, because it's never just rub on this spot. That's entirely too simple.
I would add on to that. This, to me, as a horseman, is a basic aspect of horsemanship, is your ability to utilize your hands in these techniques. The aspect was the first 2 weeks I was on the racetrack, one of the top trainers, one of the horseman trainers at Belmont, I was introduced to him as a young man that wants to be a horseman. What words of wisdom could you give him? And watching horses at the training track at Belmont go past, he said, if you can watch these horses, see what's wrong with them, and then figure out how to make them perform better on there, assist what the problem is, and then what to do with it, you'll be a horse person. So it's still the same basic on there. Observation of a horse. Why is this horse moving that way, if off? Secondarily, what's creating this problem, and how are you going to resolve it? These are the three basics, and this is one of the biggest aspects I feel with massage, is what it does is it gives horse people, anybody that deals with a horse, when you educate your hands, you're interacting with another species non-verbally on what's going on in their bodies. And that to me is a gift with anybody dealing with horses that goes beyond just about anything else. How good of a rider am I? What I'm aspect feeding or this or that, is your ability to put your hands on a horse and have it communicate with another species that doesn't speak our language, but you're able to communicate through touch a language. And that's what everybody looks to. I wish this horse could talk. I wish this horse could tell me what's going on. When you educate your hands and you work with this massage work this way, you are having a communication with this individual, and it allows you to find out what the root cause of the problem is, rather than what we commonly do in both humans and horses these days, is treat the symptom. What we want to do is the takeaway of anything, observation and seeing what's the root cause of the problem, because if you deal with the root cause of the problem, the symptom will depress itself on there, so you will have...
The symptom will go away.
The symptom will go away. Oftentimes we're treating the symptom rather than the root cause. This, again, is a basic aspect of educated and utilizing whatever degree of massage. There's a number of different programs out there, and get your hands on your horses. Our specialty is, again, sports massage, where we're looking for any horse, right up to Olympic horses or horses on a higher echelon of training.
So your answer brings up two questions for me. One is you spoke about the communication, and I sort of have a feeling that not everybody has your gift in terms of communication. Do you feel that just anybody can communicate with their horse through? I mean, I absolutely believe in the touch aspect. I just wondered, I honestly do feel the two of you have a special gift, and I've seen that in others that do human massage therapy. So that's where I'm wondering, is it possible for everybody to learn? I mean, I know they can learn the techniques, but do you think everybody can speak to their horse from the heart?
That one's mine.
Okay.
Okay. To do this work the best you can, you have to be centered in yourself, and you have to have a quiet mind. And working with horses on a daily basis teaches you that. And it's because it's not something that our culture fosters. Don and I have this conversation all the time. And providing that service and that stewardship to that horse, and it happens a lot with people when you groom your horse, okay? And you're in that place where you're not linear thinking. You're doing the experience, okay? You're having that experience, and the communication happens there. That opportunity happens there. Neuropeptides are one of the elements in every mammal's body that they're molecules of emotion. And so with that touch and being mindful and in tune and quiet allows that conversation to happen.
The other aspect in combination with that is just spending time with horses. It's spending a lot of time with horses. You're thinking about horses, you're spending time, and it's not, just on the weekend, hey, you can do it. But if you're making your living in the horse industry, if you're with your horses all day, you're getting up in the morning, 4:30 in the morning, or a little bit later, it used to be 4:30 in the morning, and you finish your night, maybe 7:30 at night, and work the next day. When I was young, I worked 7 days a week on there, and I couldn't wait till the next day. It wasn't like, I'm working 7 days a week. It's like, nobody's going to do it as good of a job I think I'm going to try to do with my horses that I'm in charge of. But the aspect, again, is spending time with horses and being quiet. Any of the really good grooms that I would see when I was young were very quiet individuals with horses. They weren't trying to overrule the horse or make the horse do this. They worked with the client and stuff, with the horse. So that's a big takeaway, is quiet mind and interacting with these horses in a positive way rather than trying to make them do something on there.
Oh yeah, there are a lot of people that are with horses all the time and they're not tuned in at all.
Right.
Because their minds are somewhere else.
Somewhere else.
So yeah, so it's not so much, yes, the more you do it, and if you do it mindfully, you will grow in that. But it's really not just a component of time. It's like the awareness is essential, that is a sentient being, and your job is to serve them.
And always remember that these horses can pick up your heartbeat from 20 feet away. That's how acute their ears are. And so hearing if you're excited or you're this or that, they pick that up. So going in and meeting this individual is with being relaxed. And that just comes to be relaxed. Any type of horse you're walking in on is spending time with their species. And a number of different breeds, a number of different disciplines. And this comes about on you. Safety factor is always important dealing with horses. But if you spend enough time with horses, that becomes almost a secondarily aspect, but not an aspect where you're trying to be aggressive towards these horses. You're trying to work with them and stuff, but also always keeping in mind safety, and also a factor that, yes, you're responsible for these individuals when you're with them. And they pick that up. They pick that information up.
That leads me to two other questions. So one is, you work with horses from all different disciplines. Do you find there's some common issues with all disciplines, or is it very sport specific?
It can be very sports techniques with different muscles, aspect of racing versus jumping. There's some similarities to that, but every discipline has its own reining or cutting. There are different muscles that come into play with that, but one of the most important aspects with any horse, with any athlete, and I would say humans or horses, and I really specialize in the athletic world of athletes that I really enjoy working with, are back problems. And with horses, it's exactly the same aspect too. Back problems. Your back is your proprioceptive going through life. If your back is creating problems, your biomechanical is off, whether it's a human runner or a horse runner. So one of the biggest aspects that's in any discipline, any breed that we see on a continual basis is a lot of times is back problems. And back problems that come into play with that is understanding whether your saddlery is fitting that horse. Not what somebody's telling you, but understand whether it's fitting it or not. That's going to be an important aspect. We've been called in a number of times as back specialists. And we are back specialists as far as identifying what's going on, why it might be going on, how long it is it repetitive stress, is it a skeletal problem on there? And when I say skeletal problem, deeper in where you're not addressing those problems, you're eventually going to get a calcification of different vertebrae on the region. But the important aspect is your back and your ability to recognize whether your saddlery fits also.
Back to healthy muscle tissue doesn't hurt. So much that we see, it's someone may run their hand down the horse's back and the horse may drop their back away from the touch, and they say that that is normal. And the answer is no, it is common, but it is not normal. And so we start from there. So for us, the big thing is if you maintain the health of the back, everything else is much easier to care for.
And I actually want to expand on that, Lisa, because I did note in your resume that you had actually studied saddle fitting. I understand you're a master saddler fitter, is that correct?
There are I'm good. I'm very good. Okay, but the mark to be a master saddler would be able to build the saddle. Okay, not and so that is not what I do. But I have spent time with a master that does build. And the key thing, because unfortunately there are a lot of people that build saddles that don't understand the impact of what they're building. So again, here is where the craftsmanship has to come in with the understanding of what does this horse's body need. So that's a whole nother mountain.
This aspect would also be, and I think she's underplaying a little bit with herself because she has spent time in the saddle shop making saddles in assistance with a master saddlery, both English and Western, both of us. And the aspect is not to become, when we spent time, a lot of time doing that, was because understanding saddlery, what fits and what doesn't fit. Because this was one of the biggest things that we saw, again, going back to your previous question, back problems through various disciplines is oftentimes with equipment that doesn't fit properly. With that also, you have a scenario of understanding that, not that you have to go, but healthy muscle tissue doesn't hurt. And once again, the saddlery is an important aspect, but we had the luck to spend a lot of time in the shop making saddles, assisting with making saddles, and we did that not to become saddle makers, no interest in that, but to understand the intricacies of what a proper saddle needs to do for the horse and for the rider, because it has to be a 50-50, or sometimes I'll say 60-40, 60% fitting and comfortable with the horse, and 40% for what the rider is riding.
Well, I think this is one of the things that fascinated me with the two of you when I started looking into your backgrounds is you've done so many courses to help you better serve your clients. And I'm curious, where does your passion come from? Because you've been in this business now for 30 plus years, if I'm correct, and yet I still see the passion in what you're doing.
The passion is to serve. The passion is to help the horse and to help the people. And so the more you know, the better you can be.
The aspect of myself, one of the interests was herbal aspect, and that started again when I was about 16, because I was sent over to another top trainer, Alan Jerkins, by the trainer I worked for. Was good friends with him. A trainer who later became known as the giant killer, because he had defeated twice with his horses. He defeated Secretariat in 2 different races. And I was sent over to his barn, and he was in between the paddocks of the barn, and he was picking something and going through the ground, the paddock area, and picking plants up. And I said, "Mr. Jerkins, how are you, sir?" And I said, "I got to get this." I said, "What are you picking?" He goes, "I'm picking dandelions, the greens." He goes, "This has more vitamin A than other aspects and stuff, one of the highest, and I get it for my horses, but sometimes I'll take the livers out because the root, because it assists with the liver." And that really sparked me for an interest in herbal. I went out and I bought a little 25-cent book and started studying about herbal, and it never stopped. And it extended from Western herbs to studying Chinese herbal in China. We were lucky enough to study over there and here, and included in that with Ayurvedic medicine, Ayurvedic herbal, traditional Tibetan herbal medicine, and through that learned how much I didn't know. And this allowed us to begin to bring these together and make some of our own products for humans and also for assisting with horses. Because when I was young and later had done so much legwork on horses on the racetrack, and a lot of the aspects that I learned there later came into play with working with humans also on there. So it began to extend that. That's how that aspect came about. That world came about. So the saddlery, the herbs, the horses, the muscles, and it's always continually learning, because what can we do the best we can do in the work we do. There was a famous Japanese acupuncturist, and he was in his mid 70s then, way back when. He's gone now, but he had done acupuncture for 50 years, and he wrote a book. And the book he wrote, he named it A Drop from the Sea. And I said, "Why did you name that book A Drop from the Sea?" And he goes, "Well, there are as many different variations of acupuncture for how individuals utilize it as there are drops of water in the sea. This is my one drop of water in the sea. My particular procedure that I established for myself, that I have excellent results for my clients, and this is my drop in the sea." So our work that we do, again, everybody that works with humans or horses, is a drop in the sea. Our drop in the sea is primarily, massage is primarily, our electroacupressure, our microcurrent, and our as I said, acupressure in combination with the massage work is a huge technique that we get excellent results from our clients, humans, as well as our horses.
That's a perfect lead-in. I was going to ask you all about the herbal side of your business as well as the acupressure. So can you expand a little bit on that in terms of details? As far as herbal products, so I know you make some right here, if I'm not mistaken, and then you also have some that you import. Is that right?
Well, okay, yeah. Well, and things that we recommend.
Yes.
Okay. So it really does tie into Don's early experience on the track and his interest in how things work and what he was born with. And it started with the poultice. Okay, a common thing in racing is to use a poultice for cooling out the legs, the tendons, and helping recovery. And in modern time, most people don't know how to make a poultice. They just go to the tack store and they buy something and they put it on and they hope it works. And not only do they not know really what's in it, they don't really know how to apply it properly. But in Don's education, he learned how to make his own poultice and the ingredients and how to make something that stays moist and that has the best drawing properties. And and the proper application of this. A poultice must be put on wet and it must stay wet. Okay, it must be wrapped in wet brown paper and then put under a wrap. Most people just slap a poultice on and let it dry out, and nowadays, and then like in a half an hour, it's useless. So coming from that is something that Don was born with, that interest that got developed. Moving into his interest in homeopathy on his farm with his horses and making his own formulations to help with topical, with problems, with skin problems and things like that. He can marry that. We married that with our partnership with the Prix Institute of Chinese Veterinary Medicine. And so becoming a personal friend of Dr. Shea and working with him and learning the Chinese herbal formulations and understanding the history of Chinese herbs, and then continuing in his own study with the herbs and understanding how to use these to make topical applications that are helpful to people and to horses. And so that's where that came from.
Well, I've had the benefit of using some of those products, and I can speak to the efficacy of them. So I'm very grateful for your study of that particular aspect of the business. Now, I also wanted to switch gears because part of your wanting to serve is you teach others to do what you're doing. Can you tell me a little bit about the courses that you offer here and what the goal is for people that attend those?
Yes. My favorite customer, my favorite student is someone who wants to come to help their horse. That's why we are here. And from that, we can match what I tell them. Whatever horsemanship you bring into that door, Don will match. Okay, so we have everything from amateur owners, to gold medal winners, to veterinarians that come, because this is a field that is its own body of knowledge, and our goal is for people to take this information and incorporate it into their life with their horse. So with that we work on two channels. There's clearly an academic channel where you must understand the do's and don'ts of massage, where you must understand your equine anatomy, and how to best, where is the muscle, what do you do with the muscle? And then the other piece is the experiential piece. Let me show you how to use your hands. Let me help you get into good practices. And just like riding, massage for people, or for horses is a craft. It has to be practiced properly in order to be developed. So our equine sports massage class starts at the neck and works all the way through to the hind quarter on the horse. So each day we will do a little anatomy and a little hands-on. So learn something in the morning, practice that in the afternoon. And it's split into 2-week sessions because some people only want to know a little bit. It's a tremendous amount of knowledge. It could easily be a college course, but we don't have the luxury of time as adults, so we compress information and provide people with, here's the big picture, and if you want to drill down, this is what you do. Here are your resources, here are your notes, here you go. And here are your takeaways. So that's a 2-week program. And then from that, out of that body work and out of the need to be able to provide, to get a horse out of pain quickly, Don developed the equine electroacupressure course. And so that is the third component of our teaching for people. And what that does, I can show people where to put patches and how to use the unit, and they will get results from my protocols. But if they really, truly understand how to identify the root cause of the problem, which the anatomy teaches, that's what the equine sports massage class gives a student, okay, is how to look at that horse and think about the relationships of the muscles. And then that the electroacupressure is a powerful tool for opening up the muscles. So.
And can I ask you, is the electric acupressure a little bit like a TENS machine?
It is, but it is set to electroacupuncture frequencies. And it's quite interesting is that Don developed this protocol because he was acupuncturing himself after being on his feet for 8 hours, for 3 days in a row, working with horses in new boots, and the needle hurt so badly he had to pull it out. And he said, what can I do to relieve this pain that I don't have to put a needle into myself? And there you go.
Wow, interesting.
It was a book, we wrote a book about that. I was looking for the book, but it's on there, on electroacupressure. And the electroacupressure, again, as Lisa stated, when we do a class, that might be like a third week class for individuals coming in. But the most important aspect, I feel, is massage, not because I'm a massage therapist, because I've seen massage is a different aspect that people need to understand from chiropractic. Chiropractic, what are you dealing with? You're dealing with the skeletal system, the energy of the skeletal system. Okay, but what moves the skeletal system or pulls the skeletal system, or pulls the skeletal system out of play is soft tissue. Okay, the same thing with acupuncture. Acupuncture deals with the energetic aspect of the body, the chi or prana, okay, of the body coming through it to open it up. But the most important aspect is to understand in any repetitive stress factor, whether it's somebody working a daily basis and utilizing the same muscles, or an athlete. In this case, we're talking equine athlete, okay? An equine athlete, repetitive stress of utilizing the same muscles to allow that individual compete at a better competition on there. This puts stress on the soft tissue, and that soft tissue needs to be resolved with hands-on work. There aren't any laser absolutely has aspects of work, magnetic work, different types of magnetic work that increase blood circulation to the body on there, beamer or MagnaWave. These will increase circulation. Okay, sedentary veterinary aspects and such on there too. Injections can take care of pain, but none of these, other than massage, will directly address the stress points or the constriction of tissue or scar tissue if it's gone in for a longer period of time, or constriction of the tissue. Okay, the only thing in my experience that moves that is hands-on work. So again, that's why it's so important on a class, starting with hands-on work, massage work, and then in our case, again, we use our dropper and the C that we work with is the electroacupressure, microcurrent aspect, or herbal that we make are different. But the other aspect, this opens an avenue for people to, I want to include magnetic work. I want to include laser work. I want to include the different aspects that are out there. But what I always look at is the very basis is address the root cause of the problem, is the hands-on work, is the massage work. That's how important it is.
That's a very valid point you've made, because one of the questions I had for you was, what are sort of two basic things that any rider can do to get started with their horse to make their horse a little bit more comfortable?
Basic massage work, very basic massage work. What we would refer to as pre-event or post-event massage, which are basic massage techniques to go through. And now you're going back to what I learned early on, rubbing your horses, getting your horses and loosening the musculature up in a training regimen to keep them opened up and relaxed. Because this is one of the biggest aspects on regular massage does for an athlete. Yes, there is aspects that oftentimes we're using massage for therapeutic work, recovery of injuries. But I always look at it, one of the most important aspects of utilizing sports massage work is a prevention of injuries occurring. So what massage does is it maintains flexibility of the muscular tissue. Because again, if you're in any type of training regimen on there with repetitious movement on there, the muscles get fitter and fitter, yes, but also what we're beginning to do is we're also losing flexibility. And the loss of flexibility is what sets in deeper, and what this does is create problems within the soft tissue, whether you want to call it myofascial, tendons, muscles, whatever technique and such on there. All of this gets tight and constricted. So utilizing the massage in an athlete on a regular basis on there for an athletic aspect that they're doing is to just basic work, basic massage work on there. You don't have to get into the deep work. We get into some very deep work on there, therapeutic work on there, sports massage work, but coming in and rubbing these horses, coming in, using your techniques on there with a good aspect on there and moving the muscle tissue is going to maintain flexibility of an athlete.
That's big.
2 last questions for you. What gets you most excited day to day about what you do? Is there a preference for a type of horse or a type of personal individual human that gets you jazzed? And because I can see there's so many different aspects of this business that would bring you joy, but is there one that kind of outshines the rest?
Whether it's an individual that's an amateur or a top professional, the biggest thing that we enjoy is with that horse, amateur to Olympic quality and such on there, is when coming in working with these horses and the individual performs better and the rider owner feels better about it. That's the aspect that we get the most out of it. So any discipline, any breed, I love all the breeds. I was lucky enough 20 years spending with thoroughbreds on there, and then another 30 years spending with every breed, just about every breed. I have a few still on my list that I want to work with and such, obscure horse breeds and such. But with that stuff on there, the smile and the performance that they get and how the people lighten up and the horse feels better, the owner feels better, the rider feels better, that's the gift. That's one of the major gifts on this.
Yes. And to thread that needle, for me, the joy is working with people that love their horse and be working with them on a regular basis, and knowing that horse and having those personal relationships is just an extension of our family. So we really look at it that way.
And it's really allowed us to have a wonderful relationship with people around the world, because we've done work around the world on horses. And people stay in touch and from 30 years ago that went through our classes or lectures or clinics that we've done, and apply some of these principles to these horses, and it makes them a better horsemanship. And in other words, the aspect is really empowering the individuals that are interacting with horses in a number of different ways, to whatever level they want to take it.
That's such a lovely sentiment. So is there any, I guess, horse that stands out in your mind from the past that you feel like it was life-changing for that animal? I'm sure there's many, but I know you worked with some racehorses in particular. Are there any that come to mind that you go, yeah?
There are so many horses at various levels that we were able to come in there and turn that horse around with the work and for the owner. or for the rider.
And the big thing is it's never one thing. The home run is being part of that team and identifying maybe that piece, that missing link that's been overlooked, and then seeing that married with good management, good equipment, good training, good riding. We're a piece of that. It's never one thing.
There's been numerous, but one that will come to mind always is a horse by the name of Run Happy in 2015. And I was called in to work with this. This is a thoroughbred horse. And I was called in to work with this horse that had, in the summertime, July or end of July, that this horse had some performance, was nice, but had some problems, performance problems. Could you come up to Kentucky and take a look at this horse, do some work with it? And I went up there, flew up there, and they flew me up to work with the horse. And I worked with the horse 5 or 6 days, a week, and this horse started performing a lot better. And they said, can you stay with this horse? And just about every weekend, because we had things going on down here, I'd fly back up 3-4 days up to Kentucky, work with the horse. And 30 days later, they had a grade 1 race in Saratoga that they were racing at. And they said, how do you like to do that? And I said, generally, our work is on a large race that we've done previously internationally, is people will bring us in and we'll work that horse 4 or 5 days prior to the race, right up to the race. And so I went up there, worked with that horse coming up to the race, and that day, that horse set a record that day at Saratoga for that race, on that grade 1 race on Travers Day on there, and that was a $500,000 pot on that day. So the owner was extremely happy. He goes, can you stay with this horse and come in there as much as I can, and we continue to work with that horse. And 30 days later, we won another major race in Kentucky at Keeneland on there, and then just stay with the horse, please, and stuff, right on to the same aspect, coming in, working 5-6 days, working on a regular basis, and then 5 or 6 days for the race. And that race was on October 31st, 2015, at the Breeders' Cup at Keeneland. And we won that Breeders' Cup Sprint, and we set a record that day at Keeneland on that horse, and people were ecstatic. And that was for $1.5 million. Wow. And then about 8 weeks later, we flew out to California with the horse, and we spent Christmas Day and before it, and the day after, and we won that major race out in
the Malibu.
The Malibu.
But the part that he didn't say is that when he got started on this, is that they didn't know what was wrong with the horse, and this wasn't happening. And the horse was a 3-year-old colt with a groin pull. So that is some sketchy work that you have to do, because this horse was in pain and he was looking to kick Don's head off. But it was the horsemanship of Cordell Anderson, the horse's groom, and Don working together with that horse to connect, so the horse would allow him to do the work.
He was a 3-year-old colt, feeling good. Mm-hmm. But one of the other aspects with that whole story that I just told you is during that whole time we won all those races, there was absolutely no drugs at all, not even an aspirin, used, anything. The owner was so anti-drug, which is fine, no Lasix. We were one of the 93 horses in the series of horses for the Breeders' Cup. 90 of those horses in the different races were on Lasix. We were on no drugs, no Lasix, no drugs at all. And this is an application, again, what I will add to that is if you have a high athlete like that that's working at a high Olympic level in the thoroughbred industry, that regular massage work allows you to go from one horse to the next and maintain your flexibility from race to race and strength, rather than having 1 or 2 of those and now we have an injury. That prevented injuries all through that horse's half-year season and stuff on there, with just setting some records and continuing to work in his 3-year-old season and such on there. No drugs at all. And this is completely different in a lot of the horse industry these days with anti-inflammatories and various applications used. That's what massage used on a regular basis can make that type of a difference and allow every horse, whatever their maximum potential is. That's what massage does. It allows whatever their maximal potential. Not that they're all going to be Breeders' Cup winners or Grand Prix winners, but whatever that horse's maximal abilities are brought out when you utilize massage on a regular basis. And that would be the thought process that it would have anybody think about that. Whatever hands-on work you do with your horse, okay, can make a big difference, and continue to learn about the horses. Because the more you learn and the more you do this work, it's like any other art, the better you get at it, and it's going to come and assist you with whatever you're looking to achieve with your horse in your career.
So what's next for Lisa and Dawn?
Keep going. Keep going.
Probably some other classes which Lisa will say no, because treating injuries at different levels of injury, first, second, third, fourth levels of injury teaching of how to address these, whether in horses or in humans, because these are applications that we use with acute injuries or chronic injuries with individuals. So that's an aspect on there, and then just more detailed problems with horses or with humans in sports therapy or massage therapy in combination with electroacupressure to allow that individual to whatever degree come back into a natural basis and stuff where they're out of pain. So there's a number of things coming always down the pike because you continue to learn. But it's again, continue to learning about horses and little things. Every time I get my hands on a horse, I learn something new. And also interacting with everybody in the horse industry, you learn something new about horses with different aspects, which I love. Because you're always learning something about them. I didn't know that. Oh, really? This and that. So there are no experts on horses. If somebody says they're an expert on horses, yeah, I gotta go. Because people will introduce me as an expert on horses, and I say, I'm not an expert. Because you know what the biggest thing I learned way back when? Horses make liars out of people. Oh, that horse can't do that, and they go out and they do it. So horses make liars out of people in a positive way.
So true. Well, thank you both for taking time out to meet with me today. It's really been a pleasure. I've learned a lot, and hopefully the listeners will too.
Thank you.
Thank you.